Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda, and this is the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast.
This podcast is all about taking action and creating that badass business abundance and life that you want.
Where we share stories, laughs, wins, and epic fails to show you the whole picture of the entrepreneurial journey.
It's not just unicorns and rainbows, people.
Jump on and follow us through this raw and witty roller coaster,
where we get down and dirty and go behind the scenes of life and entrepreneurship.
Get on it,
get over it,
and get after it.
Hey, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We have another incredible guest. As always, today we have Holly Cotton. She's a dynamic wellness expert, media personality, and best-selling author who's dedicated to empowering individuals through practical and holistic approaches to health and mental well-being, blending her extensive expertise as a registered nurse, life coach, women's health advocate, podcast host, and entrepreneur. She inspires and guides others to transform their lives and achieve their fullest potential. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Glad to be here.
All right. Tell us a little bit about how you got started. First of all, you have how many books?
Quite a few. I have 12 books now. So already working on a 13th though, because one just always segues into the other. But yeah, 12 books.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about you, how you got started.
Yes, for sure. So I always say that my second chapter started after my diagnosis with breast cancer in 2012. So I was diagnosed in 2012, healthiest version of my life. I was the pull-up queen, push-up. I was in the best shape. I had the ripped abs. No idea that I had cancer growing in me. And I found a lump, went through that whole process. And then after I had my surgery, I was the weakest I've ever been in my life, to the point of where I couldn't bend over to shave my legs. I remember the first time I was able to pull my hair up to put my hair in a ponytail because of the limited range of motion with the scar tissue, the pain. And I just remember saying, wow, this is really the weakest I've ever been in my life. And I vowed that I would never be in this state again. And so I wanted to make sure that I became the strongest version of myself, spiritually, mentally, and physically. So I just started that recovery process and just trying to be the best version of myself. And then in 2019, I decided to write a book about my triumph over cancer. I would always talk to other patients that were going through breast cancer. I was a huge advocate for breast cancer awareness. I just started talking about it so many times, and I was going on all these stages and telling my story. So I was like, to write a book about this, because I feel that everybody wants to know my story about Holly Cotton, right? So, and I was right. They did. So I wrote my first book called Strong More Than Muscles, and it's still bought all around the world. I'll get emails periodically, especially around this time of year, from someone in Greece. I've had Romania. I had, of course, all of Mexico, because they translate it in various languages, depending on global distribution. So anyway, that was my first book I wrote in 2019. And then that pretty much put me on a whole different trajectory in life, because I realized that book was well written, and I probably could write another book. So I wrote my next book, day one, also same thing, bestseller. Just started getting momentum from that, getting paid from this. And I'm thinking, okay, I can write a book. So it's like every chapter that I've gone through since 2019, in the last few years, I feel that I've wrote something about what I've learned during that period, what my passion is during that time, things that have helped me along my own personal growth journey. And so that's where we are now. Just thanks to cancer, here I am.
Well, we not love that you had cancer, but we do love that, because we can relate. Like, all of our books are from that kind of perspective as well. And it's just like how we've navigated our mindset around it. I'm also a cancer survivor. I'm not sure if you saw that in your research. But yeah, I had it 10 years before you, but melanoma. So I completely understand and relate to the journey that you are speaking of, and to share our stories, especially when we come out the other side stronger, more fire, like more determined than ever, has been absolutely life-changing, not just for those that I share my story with, or I'm sure that you share your story with, but also for myself. Like every time that I get to have that conversation on a deeper level, it just helps fuel me even more for, I would say, for my purpose. So,
And I feel it's so important too, just the concept of really advocating for yourself and knowing what's going on, being aware of yourself, advocating for your own well-being, and having self-love and really implementing that is so important. Even if you haven't had cancer, but especially if you have any medical concerns, it's so important.
Someone said something on one of my shows and they said it's the push of pain or the pull of possibilities, and that's how you find your purpose in life. So unfortunately for a lot of us, it's the push of pain that push you to find your purpose, because usually you have something that comes up and you don't really know if that's what I want to do. But boy, you get your feelings hurt, or you almost die, or something traumatic happens. You're like, I'm about to get this life together.
That is so true, and very true that it's oftentimes the pain. It's not necessarily the possibilities. I mean, often it's both, but the pain of that discomfort is a huge catalyst for all sorts of change and possibility, and it's a good thing, but only if you really embrace the mindset of it, because it's so easy when you have that push of pain to sit in the pain and to sit in that victim mentality, and it's really rising above it that will make a difference in your entrepreneurial journey. If that's the journey you're going, or whatever journey you're taking, it makes a difference in your mindset around that pain.
Definitely, definitely.
So tell us a little bit about, so you have this journey of multiple books. How is that translated into what you're doing now? Like, how has that evolved into what you're doing now?
So again, I just started telling my story, and I didn't realize that my story was actually something that could impact people. I just told the story as, oh my gosh, my doctor started giving my name to people that were diagnosed with cancer, and they would call me, and I'm just telling the story and just talking just because that's what I do. And then I didn't realize that this was something that was actually going to be a purpose in life, to be the change and to be the person that other people could look at as the inspiration story. I just thought I was just living a regular life. So then when I started talking to people and actually going on panels and actually being called to be the keynote speaker at events, I was saying, oh, you know what? Okay, this is kind of aligning with my goal to, be the change and make the world a better place. My trade is nursing. I have a master's in nursing. So I've kind of always been that nurturing soul, the kindred spirit, the person that took care of people. It's just that now it's on a broader range. So now, in addition to, being able to offer a wellness expert point of view, a fitness expert point of view, a holistic lifestyle point of view, now I can also offer information about being an entrepreneur, following your dreams, being a woman who can do it all. Yes, you can be a mom. Yes, you can be in corporate America. Yes, you can still be an entrepreneur. Yes, you can do all of these things, travel the world, have a flexible schedule, whatever it is that you want, you can figure out how to do it. You just have to do it. And I think that that's what my purpose is to use my story as an example, as long as I'm here, to inspire other people to know, hey, she's not afraid to fail. Hey, she's got 32 jobs and she still figures out how to go to the gym. Wait a minute. So so you are a mom? Yes, I have all of those titles still. It's just that I prioritize what's important to me, and I make sure that I only align with things that go with my brand, and I'm very intentional about the relationships and the networks that I have. So I'm not all over the place, even though I'm doing 1,000 different things. Everything is still part of what the Holly Cotton brand is, and I think that that's important for my brand, and it's also important to educate other women, do all of these things, but try and make sure they align. What is the purpose of what you're doing? What is your brand? And I have something in my phone. It says, when people look at me, and You even said, Amanda, that just what you heard based off of other people's the way that they spoke about me, that tells me that what I'm doing, and when I have that, when people look at me list, that I'm following that list. I want people to see those things when they look at my social media or whenever they have a conversation with me. I want everyone to have the exact same opinion about a conversation, no matter who you are, whether you're CEO, whether you're the roach on the ground, like whatever it is. I like that. So when you exude that, everything just aligns with what you are. So that's my purpose. That's what I'm here. That's what I'm doing.
I love that. I would love for you to share with the audience, how do you stay centered or grounded in that? Because, we're fellow go-getters as well, navigating, all of us have navigated single parenthood. My kids are a little older now, but also navigating a diagnosis. My kids were 3 and about to turn 4 when I got my diagnosis. So, how I love that you do everything with intention and that you have that actually visual. We're big people about visual, but how do you stay grounded and even in the right mental state? And I know you work a lot with clients, like around mindset and staying in that kind of like groundedness. So could you share your secrets?
I will tell you, the biggest secret is boundaries. The biggest secret is boundaries. I have no problem. And the people that are closest to me, I just had a girlfriend tell me the other day, she was like, I love that you have your boundaries and you stick to them. And you're like, that has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with what I want to do. And I'm not doing it. So I honestly, that is how I function in life. I will say no to something in an instant. If it is not something that I want to do, I am no longer going to be the yes person to make you feel better. I'm not absorbing your negative energy. I had a girlfriend going through a breakup, and every day she called me about the saga, what happened, what was going on. I said, listen, I love you and I would love to be here for you one day a week, but I cannot absorb your negative energy every day. It pulls me in a negative space. I'm mad at your ex. He's not even my person. It makes me not be able to focus on things because now I'm in a gloomy mood because of what you have. I love you, but I can't do it. I cannot absorb your negative energy. And that's how I function in life. And I think it's so important for us, especially as women, because we are multitasking. Even if my kids, like if I have they have the bad attitude and I'm like, okay, you know what? Today, I'm not dealing with your bad attitude. I'm sorry. Like it is what it is. I'm just not going to do it. If I go and go, hey, and they're like, oh, then you be grumpy by yourself. I'm not going to allow that to penetrate my aura. And I think that when you have those boundaries, whatever they are, if you're in corporate America, I'm not answering emails after 4:50 p.m. I'm just not doing it. I'm still not doing it today. No, when I'm on vacation and I'm on do not disturb, I'm on do not disturb. And the problem is that you think you have boundaries, but then those boundaries are actually just lines in the sand that can actually be erased. So I want you to take this advice, draw it out in ink, cement it, spray paint it, whatever analogy you need to have to know this is my space and I'm not crossing out of this, and stick to it. It's not, I feel this way and I'm going to say no, but then they call and you're like, oh, well, okay, I'll do this one last thing, because guess what? They got what they needed. And now I have exchanged energy with you. You got what you want, but now I feel that I'm overworked or I feel tired, or now that's more time that I can't go to the gym or just do whatever I want to do that makes me feel happy. So boundaries is the biggest piece of advice I would give to anyone.
I love that. Literally just having this conversation with my homeopathy doctor like this week. But what I love about what you just said, because you're absolutely right, a lot of people draw the line in the sand, and that is wishy-washy. And so the water can come up and kind of wash it. And I love how absolute you are, but also you said something earlier, is that boundaries doesn't mean that with your girlfriend, right, that you stop talking to her, but you're like, no, this is the solution. Like all these other days, back up or be be out of those feelings. But this day, I can be that space for you. I can be that container for you. So I love how you not only are drawing those boundaries, but you're also solution oriented. You're saying, okay, like this is what we can do if you want to do it, right? So you're also honoring like your side of it. So I love that.
Thank you. And I really live like that. Like, I don't just say stuff that sounds good. That's really how I live.
We believe it. We can sense it.
You know, what I really love about it is it's very unapologetic, because I feel like, and maybe this is actually not even maybe, this is a generalization for women, but we feel the need to people please a little bit about it, and you don't want to put yourself out or seem too aggressive or to seem too negative. And by throwing up those boundaries, often it gives you the impression that you're being difficult, when really it's just holding on to what is a necessity for you. So it's important to understand that just because it's a boundary doesn't mean that you're being difficult, or that you're being negative, or that you're being obstinate for the sake of obstinacy, or combative. Sometimes that's what you need to do in order to get things done, and to order to maintain your own balance and your priorities.
Oh no, for sure. And the thing is, because I go into these rooms all the time with men, and a lot of times I will be the only woman in the room, right? And so they're thinking that, oh, well, she's cute, or she's tall, or she got in here because she laughs a lot, or whatever it is. They don't give me the respect. They don't basically respect my credentials. They just think that I'm in there fooling around. So I, at first, was trying to figure out how to navigate that, because I didn't want to be the woman that was like, look at me, or I felt like I had to be super strong so that you would respect me. I had to learn how to navigate those spaces. And now I'm just like one version. You get me, Holly. I might be not as loud, I might be, not as jovial, but it's one version. So regardless of what your opinion is about me, you're getting Holly Cotton that's coming in there, and I'm going to be the same way. And I think that's the problem. Just like you just said, it's generalization, but it's so accurate. So the margin of people that aren't affected by that is so minute, because most women can relate, especially me being a minority woman, because people are, okay, is she going to, what is she going to do? And I'm also from the South, so I have a Southern accent. So when I come in, they automatically think that I'm, maybe not educated, or I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm country, or I'm not defined. They don't know I traveled the world. They don't know anything about me. So even that, as someone with an accent, it's like, really? Are you really doubting my smarts because I have a drawl? Come on now. But that's the way it is. So you have to come in and you have to be unapologetically strong, but give one version. I'm not buffering down for anyone ever again in life. That's it. Sorry. That's why I'm on this show right now. I'm a badasserie.
Yes, I love it. You're not buffering. I love that so much, because you feel the need to dull your own light because other people are afraid of the brightness. They're afraid of the shadows that you cast. And I think it's so sad, really, that people can't be themselves in their true essence, particularly when it comes to a business. In my world, as you said, a lot of times you're in a room with a lot of men who think one thing about you. And so you feel this pressure to be more, or present a certain side of yourself so that you will fit into that box. But I don't know, maybe it's because I'm older now. I'm like, nope.
Maybe so. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I blame cancer. I was like, you know what? That was before cancer. Sorry. That Holly is long gone. You got after cancer Holly, and she don't care. So, yes.
Well, it's incredible how moments in time can change the trajectory of our lives, of our opinion of ourselves, of the way we navigate things. And you said it earlier too, like, I love that. I'm definitely incorporating that into some of my verbiage, the push of pain or the pull of pleasure. And at the end of the day, you can do something with that, or you can still sit in it. You can still go back to who you are or who you were and not evolve and grow. And I think that that's really important. And I love that you use that as kind of, that marker of like, listen, and you joke around it. So it's good because it seems like even though you're very serious, you don't take things you don't take things that don't need to be serious, right? You're able to like navigate. And I know for my own cancer journey, like holding on to some of that stuff, like, because I chose not to go through chemo or radiation. I advocated for myself and I did a lot of internal work, but I know that like when you hold on to that, like that's where disease comes back. That's where unhappiness and I know you talk a lot in the mental illness and the mental stability space as well. Like that's where you start to like kind of go sideways. And so I love that you are like so strong in that, so absolute in that, because absolutely things can change. And especially if you have another marker after, like you had cancer. Did you separate after cancer or before cancer?
What, marriage?
Yes.
So I actually, so let me tell you, no. So actually I had just separated with my ex-husband, maybe like a month or two before he moved out and he had moved into an apartment. And so we, of course, it was probably like 6 months of really intense, just toxic relationship. And then he moved out maybe like a month or two before that. And then it was so crazy because I found my lump and then I was like, oh my gosh. And so he and I tried to reconnect, and he actually was there in his own way for me during all of my surgeries and my treatment and all of that. But once that was over and I wasn't the patient anymore and I went back to regaining my strength and going on my own spiritual journey of healing and processing, then of course we wound up separating again, and then we did get a divorce. But he was there and we stayed together another, I don't know, 3 or 4 years after that. But it's like we got together because of cancer or got back together before that.
Yeah, but that marker still, even though you knew you were already on your way out, like that's still a big marker. And then you have to get it with kids, etc. Is what I'm saying. It's so easy to fall back into some of our old nuances, our old habits when we have even something not that big, right? So
we love the familiarness. The familiarness is easy. It's easy. I don't have, even though I hate like 38,000 things that you do, these 6 over here are really good. Like I know you're going to pick the kids up after school. I know you can help with this. I won't have to go here. This job that I supposedly hate, but I know I can come in 20 minutes late every day, but then they make me miserable for 7 hours and 30 minutes the rest of the day. But because I get to come in 20 minutes late because of the familiarness, I'm going to stick with this job that I hate. That's crappy. So it's the familiarness that people cannot let go. And I'm like, hey, make me uncomfortable for a couple of months. Give me some uncomfort. I love to grow. I will not stay where things are sucky and I'm miserable. I'd rather be uncomfortable and not know anything or anyone than to be miserable just for familiarness.
It's that quote of like the pain of today versus the pain of tomorrow and the next day and the next day, right? Just rip off the Band-Aid, get it done with. I love that.
But that's really more of almost a CEO entrepreneurial mindset, because the idea that you're happy to thrive in some discomfort so that you can grow and change, that's not something everybody has or is willing to do or withstand, because it is the discomfort, it is the change, it is the scariness. And that's something that separates a lot of entrepreneurs apart from, the thing that they used to do or how a lot of people think about life, because that discomfort is really hard, and it's the unfamiliarity, and that's something that some people will never choose willingly to overcome. They're always going to sit there in the comfort, in that lack of growing, because it's familiar, because it's comfortable, and they're not willing to make that challenge and to make that leap into the unknown.
But you said it, and Amanda, it's
not even entrepreneur. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to highlight that it is a choice. The CEO mindset that you were just talking about, like people can do that. It is a choice, and you do not have to have something traumatic to happen to you for you to get your shit together and actually start living in that way. I think that I just want to emphasize that. Sorry, Holly, go ahead.
No. And I was gonna say the same thing, Lynn. I was about to say that it's not even it's CEO. Like, we're not even talking about entrepreneur. We're talking about just life and being successful in something that you are passionate about. So even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be the best parent, what are some things that you have to do? How do you go on your journey? If you want to start working out, think about when you go to the gym those first couple of times, you're so sore, your muscles hurt, you've never been to the gym or eating right, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you want to withdraw from drinking margaritas every day. And now you're like, I'm more an alcoholic here. So even going through some type of withdrawal from a habit, all of those things are necessary for you to be successful at whatever it is. Business is great because, hey, who doesn't like a couple, some money from all this hard work too, but just in life in general.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I do want to ask, tell me a little bit about your newest book.
Oh, okay. So my newest book is called Don't Call Them. And so I actually wrote a book because, of course, I navigated the single life. I do a lot of stuff, especially in the mental health field. And because apparently I'm very personable and people love to tell me their life stories, unfortunately, but hey, good for you, bad for me. So I know a lot of gossip. I know a lot of juice about stuff. So last summer, I wrote a book called Somebody's Wife or Not, and it's called the subheading is Discovering Self-Love in Single Life. So I have little scenarios in there about people and things that they've gone through, how you think that you're happy, problems that people have, single versus relationship, cheating versus staying together, ego versus communication. So I have like these little stories put in there in addition to motivating you to be the best version of yourself, right? So the feedback that I was getting from people who had read my book was, but Holly, I still love them. Listen, I can't wait to love myself. I just got to get them out of my spirit. Oh, I can still feel them. I still need them. How do I? So I was like, you know what? New book idea. Let me come up with something else. So my newest book is called Don't Call Them. And it's basically resisting the urge to contact your ex through accountability, through reflection, and then the self-discovery part. Because as I'm talking about my new book, when I go on platforms, I'm explaining that we have to take accountability for the person that we were in the relationship. And a lot of times, whenever we're breaking up with someone or we're borderline breaking up or we're like, I'm not happy here, it's always the other person. But it's never, what am I doing wrong? Why is this not working for me? Why do I keep picking the wrong people? What is going on with me that this is my type? No one's type should be a terrible man. Like, no one's type should be that. It's you and the way that you act. It's the way that you react to that type of person. So it's about taking accountability. And then also a lot of women, I'll ask like, okay, well, what are you looking for in the next relationship? Oh, well, everything my ex didn't do. Well, that's not specific. If you're just throwing it out into the universe, what does that mean? You're not actually manifesting what it is that you want. So looking into that, taking accountability for what you did wrong, what you want to do right in your next relationship. What are you looking for? So there's journaling prompts about things that, the way that your ex made you feel. There are little distraction activities that are really fun, like a closure letter is one. Don't send it, do not send, but being able to release all of that, because why we want to call them is because we want them to care about our feelings. If I tell him this one last time, how he hurt me, how I'm feeling right now, then he's going to change. He's going to be different now if he realizes the impact of what he did to me. No, he's not. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's moved on, or he knew what he did, he or she. I say he because it's mostly women, but that person knew how they were treating you, and they're not going to be different. So me telling you how you made me feel is not going to give me the closure that I want. So it's just a fun book. It's really good. Again, there's journaling there, there's a distraction activity. And then, of course, there's different motivational things that you can have on the day. Like they have little parts in there. I wrote a part about, you wake up in the middle of the night and you hold your stomach because you miss them so much. You see that pillow that they slept on, or you see a sock in the corner that they left, and you have that pit in your stomach of a longing for them. Don't call them. So yes, that's my new book.
I love that. Well, you're teaching them to be advocates for themselves, right? There's like a reoccurring theme about the advocating for, and it sounds like, which, oh, I love it. I feel like I can talk about dating all the time. I have very unique stories, but with that being said, it's like, so many individuals are so superficial, and this can bleed into business as well, but so superficial in this is what I want, but it's very superficial layers. And you said, like, okay, they give you the response, I just don't want them to be like my ex. And if they were giving those markers, it's all about the other person, this superficial, and not about themselves. And I'm a big person of reflection. I've done a lot of self-work, and cancer, I mean, I was doing it before, but cancer was definitely the marker for me to put in that work. And I love that this book is taking them on a journey, but also supporting them, but reclaiming themselves, learning how to take responsibility for oneself, and actually how to paint that picture of like how to move forward in the way that won't rinse and repeat in all the bad ways.
Yeah, I love all the accountability. To me is so important, because I think, and this is on both genders, this is on everybody. Mm-hmm. You'll have this like, well, they did this, they did this, they did this, they did this. Like, what do you do? Because it wasn't like you were the perfect angel, the exact perfect embodiment of all things. No,
absolutely.
No. So what did you do? Take ownership of that and do some work on it, because yeah, it's you too.
We train others how to treat us. Sorry.
Yes. And then take that into your next relationship. Like, listen, I know that I was a terrible communicator with my ex, because I felt that I would try to talk to him, and it was like I was talking to this, he didn't like my tone, or he didn't, and then so it was like this whole toxic communication. We could not communicate at all. And so I was like, well, you know what? You did this and you did this. And then when I started on my growth journey, I was like, well, Holly, sometimes maybe you don't talk about this in a certain way. And then when I wrote Somebody's Wife or Not, I talked about that part in communication. And I said that a lot of times men or women will say, well, I'm never going to do this again for someone else, or I'm not going to do this. I'm not cooking dinner for the next man, or a man will say, well, I'm not spending any money on women. All women are gold diggers. And I'll say, okay, is it just that the person that you were with before made you feel unappreciated for what you did? How do you know that the next person won't appreciate you? So maybe that person might need that in their love language, and you have to give it to them so that they can reciprocate that to you. And people are like, well, I guess it was because she made me feel like that. Or I guess, yeah, because I guess he did. And then I too had to say, Holly, maybe you need to start communicating better. And now I'm like, I'm out here pimping now. No, I'm kidding. but now I just feel that whenever I meet someone and I have like we start talking and we're dating, I get all the time, oh my gosh, you are the best communicator. I've never dated a woman that can communicate her feelings as well as you. And I'm like, well, it's growth journey, Holly. This is a new chapter. I realize now how to say how I feel about a situation rather than the whole relationship. It's not all or nothing, so that was big for me. It was hard. It was hard for me to look in the mirror and say, Holly, you're not as perfect as you think you are. but
it's necessary. Like at the end of the day, and I mean, those that have been listening to the podcast now, I talk about this a lot, like looking at the reflection and like doing the self-work, and because the change has to happen from within. It isn't going to happen externally. It has to start happening from within. If you don't do the work, and my kids are in their 20s, and it's interesting because I have the one daughter who we've had many conversations over and over again, because she struggled in some of her relationships, and she would say, I'm just not happy. And I would be like, babe, but like, how are you? Like, what makes you happy? I don't know. Well, how do you expect the other person to know? So how are you going to heal yourself in order to be able to move forward? And that was also part of my story with my divorce. And again, that's a whole other thing to unpack at the time. And we're actually best friends. So our story is a little different, but most people don't put in the work like we did. And so there's a whole other aspect to that. But I know we're coming at time, but I definitely want you to touch on, because you have a new book too for affirmations for adolescents and children.
I do. So I actually have a book series and it's called Your Mind, Your Magic. And I actually have a foundation that I started with that book series, yourmindyourmagic.com. And so the book series, I wanted to really bring back, again, I started talking to individuals, marriages. I had a book about goals. I got a book about being a cancer survivor. And so I just felt that I was going into these rooms and no one was talking about adolescent mental health. I realized that the theme was how we were dealing with us, that we were already jacked up as an adult. And now here we are trying to deal with this trauma, learning how to communicate, like you said, reflection. We're doing all of these things in our 30s, 40s, 50s and up. And it's like, but what about if we start young? What if we start hitting that tween teen group? So that was my initiative for this year. I was like, you know what? I'm going to use my voice now that I have this little platform that I have developed. Now I'm going to use this platform to start spreading the word about mental health for adolescents. And so that's exactly what I did. I started Your Mind, Your Magic, and I have 4 books in the series. I have one for all teens and tweens. I have one for young men specifically. I have one for sick kids that have chronic illnesses. And then I have one that are for extra special, I call them extra special teens, which are our special need teens. And each book, there's a scenario on one side that has something that they're going through. And then on the other page, it's affirmations that are applicable to that. So whether it be going through puberty, whether it be making good grades, whether it's, dealing with your mom or dad. And then not only that, but I wanted to make it applicable for parents to give it as a gift to a child, or for someone to give it as a gift to someone else, because sometimes we need to figure out how to open dialogue. Maybe they aren't comfortable talking to their parent about something that they're going through. So I wanted to make it have a bunch of I think it's 20 different things, and each one is, again, it's catered to that audience. So for like I call it the warriors, those are the sick kids. So chronic illness kids, diabetes, cancer kids, whatever. Kids that are going through something, they might have some type of deformity, or again, being sick. How are these things relating to you? Let me talk to my mom about this. Or a parent being able to come and say, hey, I know that you've been living with asthma and diabetes your whole life, or hey, I know we've been fighting leukemia for 10 years now, but are these something that you're going through? Because we see them as these little bounce back, that whatever, mom's happy, so you're happy, we're healed. And again, one for boys as well, because I know that there are certain things that, boys are going through with sports. And then, like I said, the competitiveness, the bullying, things like that. So being able to talk to them, because we want to have strong men. We want to have men. I want my daughter to be able to marry a man that knows how to talk about his feelings, that someone is like, I woke up today feeling great, and now I want to empower my wife to wake up feeling great as well. So I feel that creating these types of conversations, opening dialogue between parents and those tweens and teens was very important. So again, 4 books in the series. I also have all 4 of them written in Espanol as well. So I go a lot in the community. I'm here in Houston. I know, Amanda, you said Houston as well. So, we have a large Hispanic population in several very segmented areas where it's pretty much like all Hispanic population. So I can go and I can hand those out, because just because you don't speak my language, I don't speak Spanish. People think I do, but I don't. But just because I don't speak Spanish, I still want every population to be able to have that love, to speak that love. And I get Hispanic moms all the time that's like, this is not even something that we talk about in our culture. This we raise them to do. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? Here we are. Your son or daughter might be the next president of the United States. Where are we going in 20, 30 years? You want them to be mentally strong as well. So that's my story about that.
I love that. And you actually have a code that we'll put in our show notes as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have, if you go to my website and you can't afford the $7.99 for the book, no worries. I have an ebook version that is available. And then at checkout, you just type in free ebook.
And of course, that will be in our show notes. All those links will be in the show notes. So if you are looking for them, just scroll down a little further. They're right there.
Absolutely. Holly, this was great to have you on. I feel like we can chat with you forever about all kinds of things. Is there any last nuggets that you'd like to leave the audience before we close out?
My biggest thing when I come on shows and we're talking about entrepreneurship, or we're talking about goals, or we're talking about seeing someone as being a badass, or living in what their purpose is that you won't know what your purpose is unless you try. And whether that be today, whether that be tomorrow, you have to figure it out. And the only way you're going to find your purpose is by going out on a ledge and trying something. It's about being uncomfortable. It's about getting out of that norm. And once you figure out, you know what, I thought that was something, but it's really not. I would much rather have the regret of saying, eek, that didn't work out, rather than being on my deathbed and sitting here and saying all the things that I never tried and now I don't have the opportunity for. So which regret are you going to choose?
Love that.
Love that, of course. Thank you, Holly, so much for being on our show. And again, all of her information is going to be in our show notes. So make sure you are reaching out to the pursuitofbadasserie.com/podcast and looking for that information there.
Absolutely. And
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you, Holly. And give Holly a follow and share this with somebody who you know that could use a little bit of boost, boundaries, and probably some more badassery in their life. So yeah, till next time.
Get after it.
All right, everyone. It's not enough to just listen.
Now you've got to put it into action.
We are so excited to see what you do next.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review on iTunes.
And to find out more about what we're doing, visit us at thepursuitofbadasserie.com.